Judy. All right, Mom. You're on.
Hi, everybody. Even the dogs are like, what's going on? I guess we're here.
Yes.
So today what we're going to do is, if you look behind me, we've got part of the border that we've already created, but I'm going to go over the cutting out the pieces, the paper piecing on it. It's probably not going to take very long to get that part of it done, but I just want to clarify some things as we go through the pattern. And then we're going to go through the cutting portion of the queen size, so that when we get ready to do all of the paper piecing and organization on the queen, that you guys will have a little bit of advance on there, and you should be able to get all of your stuff put in bags. We also are going to cover just a little bit on the, if you decided to do the king, then I'm going to go over what you have to do on that, but we're not going to do any cutting. So what I want you to do is watch the queen, because if you're doing the king, the cutting's going to be basically the same. It's just different sizes and different fabric numbers, but you'll get the idea as far as how to organize everything before you get started on it. So anyway, I'm glad that we were able to at least get you guys going on this for a little bit today. And so let's get started with the instructions here. This is called the Tuscan Sunset border, or actually this is actually the Tuscan Sunset colorway, and the border is called the Picket Fence. And so it's a very simple one, and we've used this border on several designs. And so basically, if you start at the beginning of your instructions, it's going to tell you you want to set up 4 bags, okay? And it's easier if you actually sort all of this out by bag than trying to just run it all through. And the reason why is because in the strip piecing, when you start doing your paper piecing, it's going to switch for you. So some of them are going to start with the small piece, and some of them are going to start with different pieces. And so if you try to just set it all up and start doing your strip piecing, you may find yourself getting lost where you're at and sewing the pieces on the wrong sections. So I really recommend that you go through the effort to sort it out, and then you can chain piece each one of the 4 pieces within each group. So we have basically you're going to have a C1 bag, a C2 bag, a C3 bag, and a C4 bag. All right. As you go down through the cutting instructions or the paper piecing, you're going to cut out your foundation papers. And if you look at the little pictures on your newsprint, it's going to tell you which units are going to go into which bag they go into. So like unit C1 is going to go into bag C1. And then there's a corner piece that adds to that goes into bag C1. Unit C2 goes into bag C2, unit C3, bag C3, and so forth. And the reason why is because we want to make sure that you put the right number of pieces in there to keep yourself from messing up the way the strip piecing's done. When you get over to the TP sheet, it's TP 405. I just want to bring your attention to that. So, but we probably should have given everybody 2 sheets in this pattern like 7 years ago when we published it, but we didn't. And so when you actually start doing your cutting, you only have 1 layout sheet, and you have to cut through 8 layers of basically 8 layers of fabric, or is it? Yeah, if you try to use the 1 layout sheet. So what I'm going to suggest to you guys is that you just take and use your measurements. I just measured when I put mine together last night. I actually just measured all of the strips, and then I just went through and cut all my strips, and it worked out really easy. And then I was able to keep everything in groups of 4, so I didn't have to go through and do a whole bunch of recounting on everything. All right, so I'm gonna go over that with you. The color layout is at the very bottom of your block, or page, I should say, and it's very simple. My color layout, it almost looks like a piece of fabric, but I actually have a brown, and then I have a blue and a rust, a brown, a blue, a rust, brown, blue, and rust. And so what you have is 3 different little strips in there that you're going to be sewing on, okay? So when we get over to the page 2 and we start talking about the fabric, I actually cut part of this out last night so that we could actually sew up some of the border pieces this morning, and so you guys could see what it's going to look like on the wall. And so I'm only going to be cutting through 1 layer of fabric instead of the 8 layers of fabric. And then I'm going to show you how to organize just each page, all right? So if you guys are doing it, what you need to do is just keep all 4 layers of fabric together, keep your 4 layers of papers together, and then just do some chain piecing with that, okay? So let's get started on that. We're going to take our very first piece. And this piece, I need to leave my instructions open so I can read it. This is actually fabric C1. And it tells me that I'm supposed to have 2 stacks with 4 strips in them. So we're going to take the papers. And here's my papers. When you guys cut them out, just get everything cut out. And those are the papers for us, all right? And so those are my C1 and C2 papers. And then we're going to take our pieces. I have 2 strips of fabric here. And we're going to pretend like I have 8 strips. And we're going to have 2 piles, just like this. Okay, so I have a stack of 4 and a stack of 4. And then we're going to take and just look at your pictures, because this one is so simple to do. Basically, we're going to set up our pieces. This is my layout sheet. And so we're going to put it on the first one. Can you guys see the whole thing? Or do I need to move it down a little bit?
Yeah, there you go.
There. Now you can see the other end. So I'll just kind of move this around just a little bit. So what I would do at this point is, after you get that first piece on, let's just take and put a little bit of glue on the back side of it so that it sticks down. If you guys don't have issues actually sewing or cutting through 8 layers, at this point you can actually stack all 8 layers together just like this, and then just slice everything up and then divide your papers or your fabrics. I'm actually going to do it like this, and then what I'm gonna do is grab my rotary cutter and I'm going to cut right down here along the edge, and we're going to leave the end pieces off for now. And if you can't cut through all 8 layers, then what you're going to do is just come in here and measure it, and that first measurement is 2, and it's not quite 2 3/4. It kind of sets just in between, so it's about 2 5/8, I think, is what I actually came up with a number, which I have it right here. And that first one, it says 2 3/4, but I think it's 2 5/8 when I look at them. Let me look again. So there's 1, yeah, it is 2 and 3. When I measure one of those, got a weird ruler here. So it's going to come out about 2 5/8 is what that measurement is. And once I get that started, I can just take these pieces and we can just place our ruler right like this, and I can still cut through 4 layers of both. And then we can take the next one and we're going to cut that one, and then we're going to take the next one. So it's pretty easy to figure out how to get these strips cut. You want to be a little careful not to get those strips too big, because you may run out of fabric with your strips, because we have to use the other end pieces. And we're getting it's moving just a little bit on me, so I'm going to straighten it up. And then we're going to do the last cut. All right. So now I'm just going to take all of these, because if I have 4 layers, then there's no reason to stack and have to recount, because it's already built. Each stack would have my 4 layers for me. Okay, and then I'm just going to put this stack with my first foundation paper here. Well, actually, we have to count it, and then we're going to do that again. Now, you really don't need to keep the paper with them, because the paper, either side's going to work for your sew side. So I'm just going to get rid of the rest of the papers, templates, and we're going to go like this. Okay, so let's get rid of those papers. We don't need them. Then just to do a little bit of math for you guys. So in general, when you get done cutting, you're going to have 80 pieces, just like this. And you're going to take those 80 pieces and divide them into groups of 4. And then you're going to set up each sheet individually. So if I look at these, I basically, on this one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'd actually take and put a stack, 4 stacks with this. Now, I can go through and read all my instructions, but it's just so easy to do it this way. So I just found last night that I just went through and added everything to my stacks. And that one, actually, we'll just leave that in our next stack, okay? And then we would do the same thing with these papers right here. We're just gonna put the pieces down. Now, on these papers, we do have a couple at both ends. If you look, we have some half pieces. And the reason for those half pieces is this one in the middle is gonna join. And when those 2 pieces join, so don't flip those papers, when the 2 pieces join in the middle right here, they become the same size as the big pieces. So pay attention to that and make sure you get that started with the right color. The other thing to pay attention to on this one is actually my blue fabric, where this one over here is my brown fabric. So I want to make sure that I start with where it says pay attention to where section 1 is, because we're going to stack them in the order that they belong, like that. All right, so we're going to take these pieces right now and set those aside. And we have some leftover pieces here, and these are where we get our corners from. So if you look at these 2 corner pieces here, basically I'm going to put one of these on here, and I'm going to put another one on here. Now, if you have directional fabric, then you may want to pay attention to how this is set up. if your fabric's not directional, then you can actually take them and switch them around however you want. They can both go like this. You just have to have the 3 pieces. If you have batiks where you don't have a right and a wrong side, you can actually get all of them out of one of those leftover strips, because you can flip that over if your batik doesn't have it. I don't have batiks, and so I can't just flip them over. So I cut all of the one side out, so today I'm going to actually just use this one, and I'm going to cut here. And so we have a half piece. And then I'm going to actually, rather than waste that whole corner, cut here, and then just do my last cut on here. So these are, and then we're going to put them over here. And I cut some extras of those last night, so I don't need to cut more right now. Okay, so these pieces are actually going to fit on here, because, nope, actually they go with this one right here. So these go here, and then this piece, we're going to save it because that goes with those other 2 long pieces, so we're going to set that aside. Now we're going to take my blue pieces, and we're going to do the same thing with the blue. Now, if you want, you can actually...
Shoot.
Huh?
You just cut out on Facebook.
Oh, did we fall out? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're...
Continue on. I'm
Yep.
recording it.
We're going to keep recording. Okay, so I'm going to actually take this, and then I'm going to cut it right in the center. And we're going to stack our strip sets the same way. On these, I believe you're supposed to have 4. Yep. So it's to stack the 4 of them. And then you're going to just take these pieces, and again, you can actually get all the pieces underneath here, or you can just take your ruler and do the cutting right here and just measure it. And this piece, when you measure it, comes in at about 1 3/4 inches. So it's a little bit less than that. I actually have it written down as 1, not 1 3/4, but 1 5/8 inches. This is what I cut them. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut these because I have a lot left over. So let's just go ahead and I should have put some repositionable glue on it. Here it is right here, so it doesn't keep moving. There we go. And since I'm cutting, I'm just going to cut up a few extras. And there we go. All right, so we're going to just take all of these and stack them. And then we're going to cut out our orange ones. And then we'll set up each one of the sheets. And the orange ones are actually about 1 1/4 inch cuts. So again, I'm going to speed up this process a little bit, and we're going to just cut several layers at a time. And these are actually 1 1/4 exactly. So I'm just going to use my ruler instead of the paper. So we're going to go 1 1/4. Now, if I'd done all 4 of these at the same time, I would have made sure all my fabrics was right side up, because then I wouldn't have to sort them. But since I'm only using 1 piece on them, I'm just trying to get it done. There we go. Okay, so now we have all of our orange pieces here. We're going to put all those in a stack. And then we're going to grab each one of our sheets. And I believe we're going to take this sheet right here. And I'm going to start with this one, C2. And C2, when I look at it, starts with my blue, is my section 1. So I need that little tiny brown piece right here. That's going to be set. And then we're going to take a rust. And then we're going to take a brown. And then we're going to take a blue. And then we're going to go rust. And then brown. And then we're going to take blue, rust, and brown. And then we're going to go blue. And you guys will have 4 layers of each one of these colors, because you're going to have 4 sheets of these that you're going to be making. And then we got to take a brown. Whoops, that's my little brown. Grab my big ones here. Okay, and then we're going to take another blue and a rust and a brown. And I think, let's see, I'm supposed to have 3 sets. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets. So there's my first set right here. And I must have missed a blue in there, a rust, and I missed my blue. There we go. Did you guys see me miss that? And now, oh, that's why I grabbed the brown one in its place. All right. So there's my first stack, and then I should have a rust. My blue is on the bottom. No, it's not. Brown is on the bottom. See why you got to pay attention? And then blue. And then we have brown, which I threw it over here. Brown and rust and blue. And then we have brown. I've stacked everything backwards. Blue. And then we have brown. And then we have my rust and my blue. And then we have our brown. And then we have rust and blue. Did you guys see me stack all of that backwards? So now we have our first set right here. There's one set. And then we have number 2. And then we have number 3. And then we have number 4. And then we have number 5. And I need one more set. And so we're going to go from blue, and then we go to brown, rust, and blue. And so I started with the brown and went to blue. And then we're just going to take that and set it aside like that. And then we're going to do that with the rest of the papers. But we're only going to do one because you guys don't have to watch me do the stacking 5 times with all of these colors. And we're gonna go through the paper piecing. Okay, so we'll just set all of these aside. And we're gonna get rid of all of this because we don't need it. And here's another couple rust pieces. And there's one of my corners. I want to keep my corners. And then we're going to start. Clean off our table. And put our glue up. We've got to get all of our tools in the right place now. We have a fold template. We have the add a quarter ruler. And that's really all we need. So we're going to find the very first section, which is my blue section. And I'm going to put just a touch of glue on the back of it. That's my repositionable glue. And then we're going to take the blue. And just look to make sure that you have fabric on both sides. And then we're going to put the fold template on line 1. And then we're going to trim. And then we're going to add the orange piece. And because these are, the papers are so long, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to glue these together like this. And then we're going to take and I'm going to roll this up. And we're going to take one of those paper clips and put it on this. And now I can actually get this to fit on my machine without it hanging way over the edge. And we're just going to sew. And then we're going to take this and we're going to press it. And I'm going to finger press it first, and then I'm going to hit it with my hot iron over here. And then we're going to take the fold template, fold it back, add a quarter, trim, and then we're going to add the next piece. All right. So one of the nice things about having this folded back like that is I can hold on to this now, and I can actually, there's enough of an overhang there that I can actually start sewing just a little bit. And then after I get started, I can open this up like that and then start sewing. Then I'm just going to line up down at the bottom, and that way I don't have to use my glue. And then we go back to the iron. And then we're going to fold again. And as you guys can see, it's the same process. We just keep going. We're going to put the blue one underneath there. And I'm gonna actually just put a paper clip on this and leave it and finish it up later. I do want to bring your attention to a couple things on your papers. There are a couple TRP lines on these papers. The TRP lines are going to match up. They match up to some different TRP lines that are sewn onto these papers as well. Now, I don't think that these TRP lines, so we have some of these patterns that have the TRP lines on them, on both of them, because when we first started to design all of our mixers, we basically thought, well, we'll just have all these mixers go together. And then we realized that we could take these patterns and we could start mixing them with other patterns. And so sometime during all of that process, sometimes between one border and the next border and the next border, you're going to find some of the border pieces don't match up with the inner pieces. And it was never intentional, but we do have a few of those that you're not going to have those lines match up. So it's all straight. It's not a big deal. You can probably get them all on there without your TRP lines matching up. The biggest TRP line that I like with this is it helps me find where these pieces come together right in here, okay? So you guys are gonna have to decide on your TRP lines whether you want them. I don't know that you're really gonna need them for this particular design because everything is straight and it's easy to get everything to fit. We don't have a lot of bias along these pieces, so it's up to you on whether or not you want to do that. So anyway, this is about the easiest pattern I think we have as far as borders are concerned. The other thing I want you guys to notice is that we have the diagonal. So once you get these set up, you can sew this into a diagonal like this, but the way you don't want to sew it up into squares. And so when you add this border, you're just going to add it onto here. You're not going to sew this up into a square and then add this up together because you don't want to get yourself in a position where you have a lot of Y seams. And so just keep it separated until you get ready to put the queen size border on, and then you won't have any Y seams to deal with the way these are designed to go together. All right?
Some people actually are stopping at this point.
If you're stopping at this point, then you're still going to sew this border onto this quarter right here, and then you'll sew everything together. Then you'll have your last 4 seams, and that will be the end of it. All right. If you're doing the king border, you have another extension border that goes onto here before you start adding and getting into the king group. And so go ahead and, if you're doing this border, go ahead and get out your border that you're doing for your king, which I believe those are called the disappearing geese.
Yes.
Which is right here. And again, the disappearing geese are really, really easy to make. All right, the geese get smaller towards the outside, and it's a very attractive border. It's one of our most popular borders for moving the 68-inch up to an 80-inch quilt. And so, again, you would sew those borders together, and then you would add it onto this piece right here, that whole quarter there, and leave it unsewn, the rest of it unsewn if you're going to that king size. All right. In your instructions, you should have the layouts that tell you how that goes together. And I'm not sure I have one of those in my box, but let me see if I do. I have some.
I believe we added a page to that, yeah, that introduction booklet.
So you should get your introduction booklet. Mine doesn't have, okay, there it is. So in your introduction booklet, this is basically how that's going to go together for your king. So you have that, this is your next border, and then that sews on. And so see how you don't, once it's sewn together, this big square here, so, or triangle goes onto this triangle, and that avoids all Y seams for you. Okay, so that's the expansion to the king, and for that reason we didn't have to give you a whole 5 sheets getting up to that. Just look at the way that's set up. All right, so let's get the rest. For the rest of this class, I want to go over how to get everything cut out and how to bag everything up. The border that you guys are, the queen size border, there's a lot of piecing in that and a lot of cutting, and I kind of want to go through how that's all set up. So let's clean this stuff off my table, and we'll try not to lose any parts so that I can get the rest of it put together. And just so you know, we actually I cut this out on Monday night, and then we pieced it yesterday, and it's basically ready to assemble now. We just had to save one group that out for the demonstration. All right, I think we got everything we need there. So if you guys are doing the king, what I want you to do is just watch the cutting process that I go through for the queen border, and basically work yourself through the king instructions just like that. You don't have as much work in the king border as what we do in the queen border, so you'll have a lot less cutting. But I want you to basically set it all up into the bags like I'm going to do. All right. So we're going to start right here. And in yarns, the very first thing you want to be aware of when you open this up is that right at the very top, it has the number of bags you need. So it says I need a bag D1. And then inside a bag D1, you're going to set up 8 different bags, okay? And I have those 8 bags set here. So each one of these in bag D1 has a different amount of papers in it, okay? So if I look, I actually put a label on the back. And this is my bag D2, which has 16 papers. This one is bags D7. So this is 1, this is 2. Number 1 has 8 papers in it. Number 3 has 16 papers in it. And number 4 is 8 papers. And number 5 is 8 papers. Number 6, I believe, is 16. And number 7 is 16, and number 8 is 8. You guys need to separate these out into these bags. If you don't, you're going to be sewing the wrong pieces, because some of the stars are half stars. Some of them go to your corner pieces. And then some of them you repeat, especially if you have a variety of colors out there in your stars. Then that will help you keep those colors straightened out for you. All right. as you go through the cutting instructions, it's going to have you cut all of the pieces and tell you how many pieces go into each bag as well. So when we're done, all we have to do is sit down and do this bag, and then we put them back in the bag. And the reason you want to put them back in the bag when you're done is because it's also going to tell you in your back, when you get to the back, where each one of those blocks go in your group. So it's going to tell me, it's on the very last page, it says star group 1, which is going to be in bag 1, star group 2, which is in bag 2, and there's more that I use more of the star group 2. So this is going to keep you organized as you go around and put all of these pieces together. So make sure you do this. Don't just sit down and just start sewing. You want to keep everything organized. All right. So then bag D2 are your outside border pieces. Actually, these are the corner pieces that when I look at if you look at your pattern, bag D2 are these pieces right here. And those are actually paper piece because they have a border, a little sashing border on them. So those are in my D2. And then I have a bag D3, and that's going to be everything that's on the outside of your border right here. Okay, and so those are my 3 main bags that I want to keep sorted as we go through the cutting. And then my last bag has all of my templates, layout sheets in it, and my single templates. And so when you look at this, I have all of these. And there's several pages of each of those templates as well. So like this is template layout sheet number 1. And I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. And then I have my template layout sheet. That's number 3. I believe this one is number 2, and I'm going to have 8 pages of number 2, and I'm going to put it underneath there. Then I have number 3, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of number 3. And then we have template layout sheet number 4, and I have 8 of those, I believe. Yep, looks like there's 8 of those. And then I have all of these pieces. I have, this is my D1, this is D2, D3, and D4. And it's going to tell me where to put those in here. So the template layout sheets for these pieces, so I have D1. I'm looking at this little picture right here, or I could actually go through and read it. But on this one, we actually labeled the pictures. And so I have a D1 and a D4 that go into bag D4. And then I also have the D3. So those all go into, well, that's my template bag. That's why they go in there. So it's not going to tell me where to put those until I get them cut out here. All right. So we're going to just leave these right here in our stack. And then it'll tell us when we start cutting where we put everything. So let's set them all over here in order. Down here at the bottom on page 1, there's a color chart, and it tells you what colors your stars are. And I want to bring your attention to the fact that as you go around the corner of this, some of your patterns have those stars that are a different color, and so they get twisted at an angle, and so it changes the color layout. So as you're going through it, I have a corner layout, And then I have my other layouts that are blocks 2 through 7. And as I start cutting, you're going to notice that you have these straggler templates sitting there on all your pieces. The reason why is because we had to offset the color one direction so that we could get those corner blocks to match up with the ones that were on the straight. All right, so you're going to want to pay attention to that if you wonder why everything's there. It's because of these two layouts and the way your colors are set up. And I'm going to grab the picture because the picture might make that a little bit easier for you. So what I'm talking about is this color right here on some of your pictures is going to be different than the way these colors are set up over here. So it rotates the star, the color in the star. All right. Okay, so study those pictures there so that you understand when you're doing your cutting what that's for. Then we also have another color layout on page 2, and again, just kind of pay attention to that because you'll notice it when you get to the inside that half of the star is on one side of the diagonal and the other half of the star is on the other side. And so those have to be put into separate bags. And that's why we had to separate all of those star pieces into the different bags, is so that you could get those units made the way they're supposed to be made. All right. So then we're going to start, and we have all of our fabrics right here. And you guys, if you bought the yardage, you're going to have, even if you bought all of the pre-cut strips, you're going to have some places where you had bigger pieces of fabric. So as I'm going through here, for instance, fabric D4, it started out as a 27-inch strip, and then it tells me to come back and cut those into 6 4.5-inch strips. So if you have those 27-inch strips, just cut them all at 4.5, and make sure they're 4.5, because if you take 6 times 4.5, you come out right at 27. All right, and then it's going to happen again when you get to fabric D5A. Well, actually with D5A, we start splitting up our template layout sheets. So I'm going to walk you guys through how that's set up. When we get over to page 4, you're going to have another place where it's going to tell you to subcut those strips. So we started out here with 7-inch strips, and then we had to split the 7-inch strips into 3.5-inch strips. Okay, so I went through my cutting instructions and already got all my strips cut down to the sizes that I need, and I want you guys to do that as well. Just start with fabric D1, and then just get everything cut to the strip size, and then we're going to come back and then we'll start putting all the layout sheets with it. All right, so in my pile here, I have everything pre-cut into the strips and everything clipped together. So we're going to start with fabric D1. And it said I was supposed to cut 4 3.5-inch strips. And that's what I have. And then it's going to tell me that those strips go with T-template D1, D2, D3, and D4. So remember those little tiny strips that I had? It's telling me right here that those are going to go with this. So I'm just going to take a little paper clip or a binder clip, and I'm going to clip those onto that strip. And then we're just going to set it down here like this. I like to go through all my fabric, get everything paired up to my template pieces, and then come back and start doing the cutting. That way I'm going to know if I'm going to be short or if I made a cutting mistake. It still allows me to recover because I can go back and look where I might be able to save some yardage by looking at my pictures. This one is fabric D2. And D2 said I'm supposed to have 2 10-inch strips, and I do have my two 10-inch strips, and it tells me I'm going to put template D3-1. And I believe that D3-1, by looking at the picture, is that big triangle. So let's just get the paper clips off of here. And we're going to take this triangle and we're going to clip it right onto this fabric. Okay, and then we're going to just flip that over like that. Now it tells me fabric D4. That started out, whoops, did I miss? Oh, I missed D3. So D3, let's go back. D3 is template D3-2. So let's look in here and let's find that template, which that's D3-2. We're going to look, because sometimes there might be more than one, and I'm not seeing that. Those are all a different name, so we're not using those yet. So we're going to just take this piece and we're going to clip it on to here. All right, now we're going to get into fabric D4, and that's template layout sheet number 1 and 2. And so here's my 8 number 1 pieces, and here's my 8 number 2 pieces. It told me that I had to take those 27-inch strips, and I had 4 of them, and subcut them into 24 4.5-inch strips. So I've already done that. So I have 24 strips here. All right. And it tells me, if I read further down in those instructions, that each one of those groups is going to have 6 pieces in them. All right. So these templates are going to go with all of these. So let's put some paper clips on them. And that's going to go like that. And then we're going to go to the next one, fabric D5A. And if we look right underneath the D5A is where I have this highlighted. It tells me before completing the cutting for fabric D5, and I have an A through H, so that means I have 8 colors that I'm playing with here. You will need to cut apart a couple of your template layout sheets, number 3 and 4. So what it wants me to do is, it says cut one of each template in half and one of each template into individual template pieces. Okay, so here's my templates for D3, that one's D3 and this one's D4. And it tells me, I'm going to read that again, cut one of each template in half and one of each template, individual templates. So I think what it's asking me to do is to take each one of these and cut them in half. And so I'm just going to go like this. And then I think the next thing that it's asking me to do is to cut these into individual templates. But I'm going to wait just a second on it because I want to double check that as we get going on it. So we're going to take this and I'm going to cut these in half as well. And I think it only wants me to cut one of them in half. So let's try just doing this one as one. Okay. And if we have to come back and cut more, we'll cut it before. And the reason I don't want to cut everything is I want to get going on the cutting before I really sit down and figure out what I'm doing there. So all of these pieces here are going to go with these 8 pieces right here, and they should be labeled A through H. So this is my A fabric, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Okay. So all of these pieces go with this. We're going to set those aside like that. And then, so D5A, down here is B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. So now we're going to go to fabric D6. And this is my fabric D6. That was a 7-inch strip. It said to cut those 7-inch strips into 8 3.5-inch strips. And so I have 2 stacks of 4. And those pieces go with template D4-1 and template D5-2. So this is D4-1 and template D5-2. And it looks like one of these templates is used with each one of these stacks. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm looking at my picture and I can see that it has me put this one on one stack and then flip it and get the other piece off of it. So we're going to take those and put those together like that. And then we're down to fabric D7, and this is my fabric D7, and that's a 49-inch strip. Now, this is a mistake that I have seen happen many, many times. So look at the way the picture is set up here. It has measurements on it. And on those measurements, it's telling you that that piece is 49.5 inches. It wants you to set those templates down on that 49-inch strip. So you're not going across grain with it. You're going to go down the selvage grain with these pieces. All right, so I'm going to take the time and show you how that's done before we get into the rest of the cutting, just because it's going to take up the most room on my table. So we're going to start right at that piece there. So on this piece, this is actually what I would call the pattern goes this way, okay? And so if I put this across like this, that would increase my yardage a lot, because I would only be able to get one cut off of each one, so that's going to really increase my yardage. This is going to actually take that and put the design, so these stripes are actually going to go around my border, around the quilt like this, which I like the idea. So it's basically, I'm going to have my design going that way with it. Can you see my picture? Can you see me? Yeah. All right. Instead of having them go cut across. So we're going to take this, and you're going to have a pretty big table or do these basically one at a time. And I want you to look really close and study that picture, if I can find it here again, what page it is. Because as you're going through here, you don't have a lot of fabric left over. So basically, if I look at this, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 All right, so that's going to put me, if I cut it like this, I'm going to be able to get 4 cuts off of it. So we're going to get rid of this salvage before we do anything, because we don't want that salvage in there. So that's the first salvage. And I'm saving the salvage because I'm not allowed to cut them apart whenever I cut salvage. We have a girl that works for us, Cindy, who makes these really cool pin cushions like this. So she likes to actually, she'll take a fabric collection, because we bring a lot of fabric in different collections, and then she'll make it, and she likes to keep the salvage, and so the salvage in there with the name of the fabric collection or the name of the person that made it. So she likes to use these when she makes her pin cushions, and they turn out really cute. If you ever come to Montana, you'll see her pin cushions, and you'll probably go home with 2 or 3 of them. All right, so that one doesn't have anything written on it. So now what I'm going to do, because I'm going to have all the same size strips, is I'm actually going to cut these, set my yardage up like this. I'm going to grab my big ruler, and I'm going to measure these templates. And I'm going to get an exact measurement, because trying to keep that paper template on there is going to be really difficult. So we're going to do this using our rulers to get this cut into our long strips. So this piece here is actually measures at 5 and 4 7/8 inches. So we're going to cut a 4 7/8 inch strip, and I think I'm going to have to do 2 layers at a time, because it's not going to straighten up for me. We're going to fold it this way. There we go. Now it says those are 4 7/8 inches. So before I start, I'm going to just check my fabric, and I'm going to see how wide it is. Because if I can get those and just cut 5 inches, it's going to be a lot easier. But we have to make sure we have enough yardage first to do that. So I'm actually setting at 21 inches. So I'm just going to go through, and we're going to cut all of those at 5 inches. And that gives us just a little bit of playroom. And actually, if I cut them at 5 1/4 inches, I still have leftover. So let's go 5 1/4. All right. So we're going to go 5. We got to get my ruler to the right one here. So there's 5 1/4. This gives me a little bit of playroom. I'm going to put that pin cushion on there, and we're going to do 5 1/4 again. So see why you want a big table? There's 5 1/4 again. And then our next one is 5 1/4. then our last one is right at 5 1/4. Look at that. All right, so now that I have all my strips started, now I can bring them back up here on my table. Put some more weight on it, and we're going to come back and catch up. So we're at 5 1/4. And then we're going to do 5 1/4 again. Whoops, I need to go a little bit this way with it. Whoops, there goes my pin cushion. And then we're 5 1/4. And then 5 1/4 on the very last one. And then we're going to finish them all off. So there's our first group of strips. There's our second group of strips. Great. So now I'm going to take all of my strips, and we want to stack them all right side up. So we're going to take all of these, get them stacked right side up. Now, one of the nice things about what we're doing here is these are actually for paper piecing. So you don't need to, you still have some playroom. So if everything's off just a little bit, it's going to be okay. Because these are going to be sewn onto the paper and then added, and then trimmed down to the size that they're supposed to be. There we go. So now we're going to take our pieces, and there's our first cut. Oh, I need to only have these in 2 stacks. I need 2 stacks. Good thing I looked at my instructions. 1, 2, 3, 4. because that will give me a mirror image of what we're doing here, and we have to have the mirror images. So now I can take this piece, put it on there, and then we're going to cut. And then what it tells me to do is just to take this, and this goes just like that. All right. And those are used for paper piecing. So they're going to be just a little bit bigger than what you actually need. And I'm just going to trim off this end just a little bit here. And then we're going to take the next stack. And this one gets trimmed at the other angle. And this one's going to go on here like that. So pay attention to how that's cut, and it will come together for you, but getting down those long strips is a little tricky. So now it's going to tell me here at the end that both of these pieces, it looks like, place these pieces into bag D3. Okay, so these are going to go into that bag D3, which is bag D3 right here. Okay, so let's set that aside. Now I want to go through and get all of the big stuff cut, and then we're going to start with all of the little star pieces. And because I don't want you guys to have to sit here and watch me for 4 hours go through those stars, so we're going to get all this big stuff taken care of. So these pieces right here, we're going to go back, and this one is actually, that's my fabric D1. And D1 is actually a T template. And basically what T template stands for is it's the traditional size. So you don't, it's not put onto any foundation paper, so it has to be cut exactly the size it is. And it has these little strips here. When I'm working with a T template, I normally don't cut them out until I'm ready to sew them on the quilt, because that way I don't have to worry about it fraying or getting lost or accidentally losing it. So what I like to do is take my template pieces and place them on, and so each one of these basically goes along the edge. So that's a D2, and then it wants me to put my D3 on the same piece. So I'm going to get rid of the selvage, and then I'm going to show you how this is done. I'm just going to look at my picture, and you want all of your pieces to be right side up. So we're going to take our very first piece, and it tells me I want a D1 and a D4. So here's my D1s and D4s. And we have to sew all of the TRP lines on this, so we're going to do these one at a time. And I'm going to show you a little shortcut that I use. So these are supposed to be put on, let's read, onto the right side of the fabric. So we're just going to take, and don't put a lot of that repositionable glue on there, just a little bit to kind of hold that in place. And then we're going to put a D4 on there alongside of it, just like that. And then I like to grab a flower pin, and we're going to take and we're going to slip the pin in here, just to hold those pieces on. And it looks like I need to move this one over just a little bit. It's not quite along the edge there. There we go. So these TRP lines are going to match up to where we sew our border on, and then they also have a diagonal piece on there that's going to match up to one of the angles as we put the whole quilt together. So after I get those pinned on, then I come over to my machine and I actually sew those TRP lines. All right, I'm going to check something really quick. So if I flip this around, look at that. Those TRP lines match up, so I can actually come across and just do one all the way across it. And then we'll take this one, and the pin's bent and it's not laying down very flat for me. The rest of these, I'm going to just fold these up and put them with my pieces, because you guys don't have to watch me do all of these. We're just going to do the one. All right, so we'll set those aside. So now that I have that, it's kind of glued on and then it's pinned on, I'm actually going to come over here and I'm going to set my machine. I've got it about 2.5, and I think I'm probably going to just go to 2.2, and I'm going to sew across that. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to do the diagonal one. And then I'm going to rotate it and do the other diagonal one. And then we're going to come back down here and do the other one. Okay. So now I have both of those T-templates and they're sewn to my strip, all right? Now I would take my ruler, let's see if I can find my little one right here, and I'm going to show you how I cut them out, even though I wouldn't cut these out until I was actually ready to use them. So we're going to just take this and I'm going to lay this right down along that outside edge. Are we still live?
No.
Huh?
No. We're recording.
We're recording. Okay.
But you can pretend like you're live.
Yeah, I have been pretending I'm alive. So then we're going to take this piece and we're going to trim this one down. And then I cut off the end. And I cut off the end. And then I'm just going to leave it like that until I'm ready to sew it on. Then I'm going to take the next one and I'm going to do it. So this is a T-template. So T-templates, remember, they have to be cut very accurately because you're not using them for paper piecing. And most of our T-templates are used to join different groups of paper pieced units. And then we're going to flip it over. We're going to get this side on there. And something that is this little, it is hard to get them really accurate, and that's why we put them on paper for you guys. Is it just helps with the accuracy of those pieces. Then we're just going to take this and we're going to cut the ends off. And I'm going to clean up this edge. I got just a little bit of a straggler, just a little bit off on that. There we go. So I have my perfect strips. Okay, so that's how you do a T-template. And those pieces tell me that when I'm done, I want to put those back into bag D4. So that actually goes back into my template bag. So it doesn't go with anything else. So let's find what I did with the template bag. Must have thrown it away somewhere. Well, I'll find it. Oh, here it is. There's my template bag. So it's telling me to put those back into that bag and keep those there. All right? So let's clean up this mess. And then I'm going to show you the next piece. This is fabric D2. And these are my big triangles, and these are actually used for paper piecing. And so it's telling me to open up my pieces and stack 2 pieces on top of each other. And I'm gonna go ahead and put some starch on that seam. So this is my acorn starch pen, and I'm just gonna get, this is where the fold is, and now that just lays down perfectly flat, and we're going to do the one underneath it. All right. Now I don't have to worry about that crease anymore. It's all cleaned up. So let's cut off the selvage. And we'll save that little chunk. It's got a name on it. And I'm going to look at my picture. And we're going to position this piece the way the picture tells us to. And so we're going to take it and put it right up there along that edge. This is for paper piecing. So the accuracy, I don't have to worry too much. A little bit of repositionable glue. When you guys are using repositionable glue, just make sure not to put a ton of it on there. Now we're going to take a ruler and we're going to make, because I only have one template, I have to reposition my template. So we're going to do the first cut, just like that. So that gives me 2 pieces. And I'm supposed to come up with 8. And so we're going to take this and we just flip the whole thing over. And then we're going to cut the next one. That gives me 4 pieces. And then we're going to take the next one. And I'm going to move over to this side because I didn't trim this down to the right width. And I need to be over about here, okay? Because see how I have this angle here because I didn't trim it down to the width of the triangle, and so where that overlapped, it leaves me this piece here. So that's why I flipped it to the other end. Now I'm just going to take my template off, and we're just going to double check and make sure there's plenty, and there's plenty of room there. So we're just going to cut. I'm going to move it. I have some play room there, so I'm going to get it away from that salvage. And then we'll move this up here like this. And I'm going to cut between them first. All right. And then I'm going to move this piece on top like this. Now we're going to put this back on top. And that's going to put 8 layers underneath my template. And that's what I need. So I don't have to clean up the edges or anything because it's done for paper piecing. It's going to be the first piece on, so I'm going to center it. Put that fabric down there. So this one tells me to put that piece in bag D2. So that is bag D3. This goes in bag D2. And then the next one is fabric D3. And it looks like I have to have 4 layers, everything stacked together. And we're going to get rid of this fold in the middle. All right. Then we're going to stack the next one. We're going to stack the next one. All right, so this one tells me to put my first template on one end. And then we're going to cut at this angle. I'm actually going to go down like this. Cut this angle here. Okay, and then it tells me to reposition it, so we're going to flip it over, Put my fabric on top. Now I have all the 8 layers. And this is also a paper piecing template too, so I don't have to worry about the accuracy of the cutting on it. And this one tells me to put this in bag D2. So that's everything I need for bag D2, so we're going to throw that right over here. And now I'm going to reach to the bottom of my pile. So I have a few more pieces here. And these are fabric D6. So let's go find fabric D6, which is on page 4. I'm going to go like this. I have a habit of trying to keep my salvages together the same. It's mostly because sometimes I run into fabrics that are directional, and if I match up my salvages, then I don't have to worry about the pieces getting flipped upside down. Okay, so on this one, it's telling me the same thing, so we just have to reposition that template. And so we're going to make the first cut. Then we're going to make the second cut. Then we're going to flip them over. And that will give us 8 layers there. Put a couple paper clips on it. And this one, it says it goes into bag D3. So let's just wait and we'll finish this one up. I don't know what I would do without my acorn starch pen anymore. I love it. I very seldom go to the iron when I'm doing my cutting because I can just take that pen and wipe that starch onto any type of a fold or anything and then just cut them out. So we're going to take this and just kind of hold it in position, and then we're going to do a cut. And again, this is a paper piecing template, so I don't have to have that accuracy that we had to do on those little pieces that we were sewing on, the little tiny strips. And there we go. I'll just trim that off to the same size. And if it's a little bit big, it really doesn't matter. And so this goes into bag D3. Right, so now I have everything I need into bag D3. And we're going to put that over here. And that's my bag D1, which is where all of these pieces go. And this is a template bag now. All right, so we're going to go back to cutting out all of the stars. And all I'm going to tell you is you want to read the instructions and read each step thoroughly, and then look at the pictures to see where the pictures are taking you, and then place everything that you cut into the bag it tells you to place it into before you move on to anything else. Don't go skipping around on this, or you'll get really confused on the little stars, because there's a lot of stars in this. So we're going to start with the very first color, which is my fabric D5A. Okay. Oh, you know what else we're going to do before we do that? Because I forgot that we have all these pieces. All right. These are quite easy to do. Basically, and you guys don't have to watch me cut them, it tells me that I cut the 24, and then I'm supposed to take each one of these layout sheets. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this was number 6. And I should have 4 stacks of 6. And on each one of those stacks, it wants me to take and do 1 layout sheet of each one. So I have 1 template layout sheet number 1 and number 2 that go with each stack. So I'm just going to clip these on, and I'll show you how to do one of them. And then we're going to clip the next one on. So this is going to go here, and then we want one of these. And I think you actually have a few extras of these. How does it tell you to stack them? Stack the strips facing right side up into 4 groups with 6 strips, and so that's correct. So this one's going to go here, and this one's going to go here. Okay. So I have a few extra pieces, template layout sheets here. There's a 1 and 2. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6. And then what tells us to take these, and what we're going to do here, cut the selvage off. I'm just going to put one paper clip on it for now, and then we're going to take the other piece, cut the selvage off here. All right, so you're going to get all of those stacked like that, and then at the end of that, it's going to tell you to start going through and sorting those, and these all have to be sorted into all of those bags as well. So just read down there, and I'm not going to do it for you guys. Basically, it says place 8 each of Unit D1, Section 1, Template D1, and Section D3, okay, in each of the star bags. And so we have to go down there and we have to sort all of these out and get them placed into the bags that they're supposed to be placed into. So it's going to take a little bit of time to sort through that. So just pay attention, read what it tells you to do. It tells you to come down here and cut them into sections, and then you have them, and now you're going to start going through and counting the pieces and put them into the bags. Now, when you do that, make sure that when you're cutting those that you have all of your D2s in a pile and all your D1s, because when you start sorting those for your bags, you have to have a set of these and you have to have a set of those, and you have to have them in sets of 8, all right? And we have these, if you look, most of them are 8, 8, and 8 as you go through there, okay? So pay attention to that and work your way down, and when you get them all done, you'll have all those pieces, and those are your background pieces in there, okay? And then we're going to do the same thing with the stars, and so I'm going to go through the stars, and we'll do the first one. So for fabric D5A, which is this one, it wants me to open this up. And take my starch pen. I have to put some on the bottom one. This fabric is really cool. It's all just bottle caps. It's got root beer, cream soda, black cherry, pioneer, cola, grape soda, lemonade. I think probably everything that we ever had at one point in bottles. Okay, so we have all of those together. So now it's going to tell me, oops, wrong glue, or wrong lid for the wrong stuff. So I want to find the template, unit D1, template layout sheet number 3. All right, so that was this one right here. And if I look, that's why it told me to cut these in half, because now I have 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So if I count with my picture, That's what I have. And those are template layout sheet number 3. So we're going to keep those together. Now I don't have to use and cut all of those up, but it allows me to set them on there to see how it's going to go together. So I'm going to grab my repositionable glue, and we're going to put just a little bit of glue on the back of these. And these weren't cut out right on the line like I normally do. And so if you cut them right out on the line, you're going to find that they fit right along those strips. If you cut them too big, then they're going to have to overhang on both sides of it. All right. So I'm going to take that, and before I do my cutting, and you still need to go down a little bit. I should have just cut off that selvage, and then I wouldn't have that issue. There we go. Okay. And now on the other end, it wants me to use a template layout sheet number 4. And that's one of these. And it only wants me to use one template. So that's where we were supposed to put those single templates. So we're just going to take one of these. And that's going to go down on this end. Okay. So I'm going to actually take this and I'm going to cut. And if you're wondering where this goes, remember those ones that I said they're kind of strangled. They're the ones that are for the left sides and the right side units and the corners. That's where these pieces are going to come in, because you have to have some of them for both sides. And the diamonds that we have here are set up. Some of them are your very first diamond that goes on, which is a bigger diamond than these diamonds. So if you look, this one actually has a sew side on it, and this one doesn't have a sew side on it. And so this is used where they're, it's the first piece on, and so therefore we had to cut it a little bit bigger for the paper piecing. So those are diamonds. I got that. And I'm going to save that piece over there. And then we're going to go through here. And we're going to put a paper clip on this. And I'm going to read a little bit further here. Okay. All right, so it says I'm doing it right. So we're going to take this and we're going to cut here, and we're going to move this. So there's 4 there. Here's 4 here. And we're going to put some paper clips on these in just a second. But for now, I just want to get them cut down somewhat to size. Okay, so now down below it, it tells me that I want place 4 section 2 template D12 into bag bag numbers 4 and 5. So this is a D12, and there's 4 pieces here. And we're going to find where my bags are. So we need to take, there's bag 2, and this is bag 3. This one's bag 4. As you can see, you're going to want a table that you can set these on. This is bag 5. This one is 6. This one is 7. And this one is 8. So let's move these out of the way. And this is 1. So let's go, there we go, 7, 6, 5. There's 4, 3, and 1. All right, so it tells me that I want to put 4 of these, section 2, into bag number 4. So I'm going to put that right there. And then it wants me to put 4 of those into bag number 5. Okay, and it's right there. Now, if I finish reading, it tells me which foundation unit that goes to. So they actually go to foundation unit 1. So when you open up your bag, you're going to take this one, and this one goes to foundation unit 1. This will actually keep you from putting things on upside down, which if you have fabrics with the right and the wrong side, you won't make those mistakes. But if you're working with batiks, you can get them in the wrong bag, and when you go to flip them over, you'll find that they're not going to fit. So leave the template with it. All right, the next piece, and then I was supposed to put one of those in bag 4. Or there's 5. And this one's going to go with unit D1. So we'll just clip it onto unit D1 right now. And I have my paper, so I can just use the paper clip on there. Okay. Now then, the next thing it tells me is place 4, section 2, template D1, star group bag number 2, 3, 6, and 7. So it wants me to put one in 2, and 3, and 6, and 7, okay? And in each one of those are supposed to be with the D1 foundation paper as well. So we'll just take each one of these. So this is gonna take you a while to sort. I just want you guys to see the process of us sorting. And so those are gonna go in there like that. Now, if you're using, the reason we're doing this is because each one of these stars has different colors in it. And so by the time I get done here, even though I have 8 papers, I'm going to end up with the different colors that go into that star for each one of my papers. And that's why they're sorted that way. And so just take it slow and get through your stuff. And when you're all done, you're going to end up with all of the pieces that you have to have in order to make this stack. It'll have your background pieces and all the different color stars that you're supposed to be going on to those. And what I would do is, as you're working through this, because if you don't have time to get all of it done, then I would take a highlight pencil like this and I would mark them off as you get them done. So I did that group. And now I'm doing this group right here, and just mark them off so that when you come back, you can continue on with it. And that's why I didn't want to go through and just cut everything up. I want to be able to work through it as I go, all right? This last piece here, this is my section 1 template D2 1. Oh, those other ones were D1 2. Yeah. You have to kind of watch those names. And this one goes into bag 1 with unit D2. So this one's going in here. And this is my D2. So the reason why this goes into this bag is my section 1 on this unit starts with the star. On the other units, the section 1 starts with one of those background pieces, okay? And that's why you have to pay attention when you're sorting them, because otherwise those, the D1 2 pieces will not fit on the D2 pieces, okay? And if you're wondering, when you read those little section numbers, D2-1 means it goes with unit D2. That's because the D2 is first. The D1s go with unit D1, and they'll read D1 first. And that's the difference between those. So this is going to go on to that piece. And then we're going to put it in that bag. And I'm going to mark that off. Okay? Now I'm going to move on to the next one. You're going to want to save all of these scraps, because if you do make a mistake, these are big enough to fix everything. So I would just take all of these scraps, and I'd probably just put them back for now into the big bag that you had labeled as D1, which is right here. I would suggest that when you're doing this, to make sure you have a good night's sleep when you start sorting. Get everything else cut, and then just start going through your sorting. And don't do it with a bunch of friends beside you, because you'll end up with everything in the wrong bag. So, all right. So you guys can go on and finish up that cutting there. And you'll do the same thing with these pieces. Just go back to those instructions and get all of these cut and follow through, and it'll tell you how many go into each bag. And there again, remember that anything that's a D1-3 means that that's actually going to go with your D1 units, and anything that says D2 on it is going to go into the D2 units. So just pay attention to those numbers there as you're sorting through it. So basically, I think we've covered everything on this as far as the cutting out. And in that last video of the season, if you guys can go through and read or get all of this cut out before we do that last one, then we'll be able to just sit down and go through the paper piecing. And we'll be able to go through all of the how to assemble everything, and it'll make the finishing up part of that last class worth your time to actually do the sorting. All right. I do want to point out one thing on these pieces. So basically, remember I showed you. So I'm going to just pull these apart so you can kind of see a picture of how that goes together. And then this one is the opposite. So when you're done, this is what you have on these pieces. We'll just take this one and we'll go like this. So I just wanted you to be able to see what those actual units are going to finish up to when you get them pieced, all right? So I think we basically covered everything here. Just remember, if you're doing the king, then you have another border that you got to do, which is just typical paper piecing. It's a very simple border. And the king size quilt, cutting out all of the stuff for the king size is a very simple cutting process. It's not as complicated as what we did with these stars. However, I do have to say the thing about this star is it looks like a very traditional style border, and I really like the effect of it when it's all done. So, all right. So do you have anything you want to add, Judy?
Yes. So I am going to go over a couple things really quick. Partly because I went over this earlier on our video today, and then when it disconnected, we didn't have this part in our in the recorded video. So we're just going to go over it one more time. But I got to switch over here and hook it up so that it can see the website. Okay, so I am going to talk to you guys really quick about the fact that our 2025 program is up. And I'm very excited about this. We've done some things to the website to change and make it a little bit more clear how you sign up this year, just based on feedback we had from people throughout the 2024 box program and trying to help them get signed up. So it is still all at box.quiltworx.com. And this is run on a different shopping cart than our main website of Quiltworx.com. So you will need to log in and create your own separate login for this page. So you can do that either at the bottom of the page. You can set up an account here, or as you go through the ordering process, it will prompt you to set up an account at that point in time if you don't already have one. So if you already have one, you can just log back into your existing account and you'll see last year's box orders, and then you'll see this one as you move forward. So this is the main page, and we have added some ordering tips and tricks, and I would encourage you all to read through this first, even if you signed up last year, because this will really help you make the right decisions for yourself. So we cover the fact that this is an annual sign up. That means if you weren't signed up, or even if you signed up last year, you still need to go in and sign up again this year if you want to do it again. We cover your different options. So there's a large box and a small box. And then we also cover the fact that you have multiple colorways to choose from. And then we cover the fact that if you don't like any of those colorways, or you want to choose your own fabrics, that we have the option for a pattern only. And then we talk about your payment plans. So you can either pay up front, or you can do a 25% deposit, and then you can pay the rest on the first of the delivery month for the box that you ordered. And the delivery months for the large box are shown up here at the top, and then the small boxes as well. And then we talk about how if you pay in full, or if you pay with the 25% deposit, each quarter your items that would be paid for during that quarter have to be on their own order. So if you order each of the quarterly boxes, make sure and order those on their own individual orders. Otherwise, it'll bill everything out for the first. So you'll pay 25% now, and then it'll bill everything out when the first box ships for all of the 4. So you want to break those up so that that doesn't happen. If you order the backings to go along with those, then if you can put your Q1 backing on the same order as your Q1 project, and it'll figure it out properly. But we just don't want it to unexpectedly bill people incorrectly or in a way that you weren't expecting. So we're going over how to make your orders work with the payment plan that you want. Then we talk about the fact that if you order for all 4 quarters, you can get a free 48-piece Quiltworx strip set. And then we talk about add-ons and how those work. We're talking about, we go over some other shipping information. And then if you need to update your billing and address information, please do that before you order in your account, and then it will apply to your 2025 boxes. If you do it after, then you need to do it through an email and send us an email, and we'll have to go look up your orders and change it. It's not hard. I just want to make sure that you understand that if you do it after you order, then we'll have to make the changes on your account and you can't do it yourself. So anyway, if you continue to scroll down, there's a couple different options here. There's full kits and pattern subscriptions. So those mean they come with the fabric and they come with the pattern. Then there's pattern only subscriptions, which only have the pattern. And then there's all of the backing and fabric bundle add-ons. So on the main page, you can go to each of those areas and order, or if you want to have it clarified a little bit more and break it down, you can go back up to the top and you can click on small box program or large box program, and then you can get to each of those areas there as well. So I'm just going to click on the small box. Some people have asked me before if you can, so we're going to choose one just so that I can show you how this works. My mouse isn't wanting to cooperate very easily today. Okay. We go over all the information again here that I kind of talked about on the first page, and then when you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see pictures of the different options. If you click on one of those pictures, it opens it up in another area, and you can get a larger picture, and you can see all of the different fabrics that are in it as well. So yeah, you can, I mean, that's really nice that you can pop those up and see them. You can also right click on those images and save them to your computer if you want to do that. You can then choose from your colorway which version of the colorway that you would like to get. So if you want the Tim Holtz, you would choose Tim Holtz, and so on. And then if you pick the, all right, I wonder if the battery is dying in my mouse. It would be typical for today. So if you want us to cut it into pre-cut strips, you can click on the pre-cut fabric option. Note that this is going to bill you in full today because this is an add-on feature. It's not an individual item that I can apply the quarterly deposit option to. So if you order pre-cut fabric, you pay for that today. And then you can come down to the bottom here. And then where it says pay in full or quarterly deposit, you can just click quarterly deposit and then add to cart. You'll notice if you do that on the next screen, it's going to show you the total for your order. But as you click past that into the payment piece, it'll show you how it's broken down by quarterly and by also the date where you'll have to pay the balance. So you can double check all that stuff along the way as you go with this program. Under the small pattern only, it's the same exact thing. It just doesn't have color options. It's also cheaper because we don't include the fabric in there, but you'll be responsible for getting the fabric on your own. And then the small box fabric bundles and backing add-ons are listed here as well. So the backing is pretty straightforward. You just open it up and choose the same one that matches the project that you're working on. On the fabric bundles, most of them are set up for quarter yard cuts. There's one that we did that is a 1/8 yard cuts, because look how many fabrics are in the Arizona Cactus color stock bundle. So this one's 1/8 yard, the rest are quarter yard cuts. If you want more than 1/4 yard, just order more. So if you wanted a full yard of each of the colors or a 1/2 yard of each of the colors, whatever it is that you would like in addition, just order that many of the bundles. So order 2 bundles for a 1/2 yard, 4 bundles for a full yard, and so on. And if you do that, then when we process your order, we'll just look at that and see how many bundles you ordered, and then we can cut it to the proper size and ship it. So for the small boxes, you'll get those fabric bundles with each of the small boxes that you ordered, along with the coordinating backing for each of the projects. On the large one, because you only have one fabric bundle coming, because it's one project for the full year, the extra fabric bundles will be sent in the first quarter. That way, if you are one of those people who like to have a little bit of extra in case you make a mistake, then you can use that. You can use the fabric throughout the entire project time. The backings will be sent in the 3rd box, and mostly that's because the 4th box is a really big one in terms of fabric. amount, and we want to make sure that you have, and we're hopeful that we can fit the backings into a lot of the Q3 boxes. Sometimes we'll have to go a little bit bigger if you order a bunch of stuff, but that's okay. We have options for that. So I think that covers everything. I should mention on the large box size, let's go pull up one of the pictures really quick here. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm glad I did this. So you can make this large box this year in 3 different sizes. A 68-inch, so you'd have to get group Q1, which makes the star, Q2, which makes the piece that goes around the star, and Q3, which makes the border there. If you want to make a king size quilt, then you can do that as well, or you can make a queen size. So Q4 would be the queen size 99-inch or the queen size 118-inch. So you can choose one, or you need to choose one or the other. And if you click on these big box ones and scroll down, you'll see the images for the differences. And like I said, you can click on these and make them bigger. Keep in mind the king size quilts have quite a bit more fabrics in them, and so they are quite a bit more expensive as an overall bundle, but you're also getting 118 inches square on your quilt. So that should cover all of the details, and we hope that you join us for 2025. And let's see, let's switch our view back here. Okay, I think that the batteries are dying in my mouse. Because I think, okay, we're completely dead now. Let's use the other mouse here. Okay. My hair's all messy. Okay, I think that's everything for today, and we will see you in October to do the milk thistle placemats, and hopefully we will have much better luck with the streaming by then. Thank you, everybody.